Trafalgar Law as a character is genuinely a fan favorite. In the last popularity poll, he was 4th behind Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy, and this poll was released around chapter 874, so this was in Whole Cake Island, and he was still that high among the other characters. Newsflash, Law was not in Whole Cake Island at all. Ace was even top 5, even though he died 200 chapters earlier, but that just goes to show if you're a dope character that resonates with people and you're going to be viewed favorably. It's not really hard to see why Law is a character favorite though. Upon introduction, he had a certain edge while not being an edgelord and retaining an unexplainable charm. I believe it also helped that he gave a character that many despised in Kid the Finger, but the affinity for Law grew. Who was this character? With 200 mil on his head with a talking bear for a partner. Mind you, this was obviously before we knew anything about the mink, so it makes a ton more sense that he would have a pretty interested reaction to Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon as they were trying to take advantage of other races, and obviously his right hand is a mink, so that comes full circle. But after those short moments, we were interested in this guy. What was his role in the story? Was he supposed to be a main rival? I mean, his bounty couldn't compete with Luffy's, Zoro, or Beppo. I mean, it wasn't even close. But these subtle moments of Law providing exposition and some lighthearted moments with Luffy sets the scene. This tells me we will obviously see this guy in the future. As Sabaody went on, the dominoes started to fall in place. It became clear that the supernova, other than Luffy to look out for, were Law and Kid, and to a lesser extent, X-Drake and Hawkins. Also, them and their crew members were standing a hockey burst from Old Man Ray added to just how epic they were being portrayed. The panel that sold the rivalry between this trio came shortly after. These men wanted to stand at the top and would go through each other to accomplish it if need be, and probably would rather it be that way. Now at that point, Luffy was extremely creative with his rubber fruit, but seeing Kid and Law in action was really exciting, even though we had no idea what was going on. Especially with Law, casually decapitating Marine soldiers but keeping them alive. What was his power? If it wasn't any more clear, Oda had Luffy straight up say that he was the one that was going to find the One Piece. Both Law and Kid reacted, and Kid, had his smart remarks and made a pledge to meet up in a new world. Law nodded in silence with darkened eyes as to say that it was inevitable. Almost destiny. We'll get to Law's ambition a bit more, but something that gave me an idea that Law was truly ready to compete and some insight into what Oda was trying to tell the audience was as great as Luffy is at recruiting and having subordinates swear fealty to him, Law can do the same thing, and he did so with John Bart. We know of the disaster that transpired with the Straw Hats and the journey Luffy proceeds to go on at Amazon Lily, then finding out about his brother to head to Impel Down with Boa's help, then to Marineford. Speaking of Marineford, we then see Law move out in chapter 565, and then he ends up saving Luffy from dying and delivering him to Boa Hancock. When asked why he did it, he said he was not a friend and had no obligation to help him. Ivankov interpreted it as instinct. Leaving the island, Law mentions the D bringing forth another storm, which of course raised our eyebrows. What did it mean? What did Law actually know? Another hint before the time skip in regards to Law's importance is his vow, and it's fitting in a chapter called Vows. His crew was surprised that they weren't immediately heading to the New World, and this gave us a lot of information in regards to Law's patience as a character, because he says it's not as if the One Piece is going anywhere. Again, another clear hint by Oda that this is what Law wants. Law then goes to say, when there's a position I need, I'll take it. It may have felt like big words from Law at the time, but we soon find out after getting to Punk Hazard about the Rocky Port incident, where he was the mastermind, and at some point to become a warlord, Law sent the hearts of 100 pirates to the world government. He saw a position, and he took it. Law put on a show early on in Punk Hazard though, from quotes to beautiful swordsmanship and devil fruit utilization, but what did he want? What was his purpose? Why was he here? We find out about a hierarchy in the New World, either fight the Yonko or take them down, and he is the one who proposed the alliance to take down one of the Yonko, and this fell in line with his ambition and goals set up pre-time skip by Oda. It was starting to make sense. A very interesting beginning to the alliance was Law's knowledge and just how much he knew, even to the surprise of Nico Robin. He was a very clever plot device to give us necessary information when we needed it, and it also worked a lot more naturally than even Nico because he wasn't around all the time. So when he came around, it was always beneficial, and not only to the Straw Hats but to the reader. Nico Robin being around and not saying things felt a bit weird. For Law, again, it felt more natural. The one who even told Nico Robin and us about the research that the government had been doing for hundreds of years into the giant soldiers was none other than Trafalgar. Quickly though, you realize that even with Law's proposed ambition, it all meant naught in the face of Monkey D. Luffy. There's a specific situation in which Law was ready to leave the island, but the Straw Hats were intent on putting Kinemon back together and saving the kids. Law initially said that the crewmates' wishes had nothing to do with their alliance that he made with Luffy, but Usopp pointed out just how headstrong Luffy was and how Luffy views an alliance. They're friends now, and then Law, of course, reluctantly obliged. I especially loved Oda establishing an even greater difference in subordinates by having Luffy point out all the haki users. Luffy had 3 on his side, including himself, while Law had 1. which was himself. We then start to learn the secrets of Law's past and the impact characters like Virgo and Doflamingo had on him. We get through Punk Hazard and the plan starts to come together. Skipping forward to Dressrosa, we learn of Doflamingo and Law's relationship with Corazon, what Corazon did to save Law's life, and there were moments in Dressrosa where Law got so much focus, he seemed like a fitting rival for the Straw Hats. Except, Law believed in the Straw Hats more than anything, after seeing miracle after miracle after miracle. To Law, taking down Kaido was a front for taking down the true devil, which was Doflamingo, and Law had accomplished his goal. His life no longer had purpose. Or did it? The most important moment in determining Law's future lies in his conversation with Sengoku. Law received information about Corazon which revitalized his mission and his goal. Post Corazon, his life's goal was to strike down Doflamingo. This was done. So what's next? Law mentioned that Corazon wanted a D life for him, indicating a life of freedom. Then he asked Sengoku, did he know anything? He paused, then denied, but more than likely he knew but couldn't say. However, what I love most about this scene is just how much similar it is to what Law did for Luffy. Sengoku told him not to attach a reason to the love you received. Very similar to Law telling Ivankov he decided to save Luffy and there was no rhyme or reason to it. I love when things come full circle like that in One Piece. We then head to Zou and we know that in Zou we find out how to actually find the One Piece and become the Pirate King. It's very fitting that Law is the only non-Straw Hat that's there to listen to every single detail about finding the One Piece. From the type of Poneglyph to the individuals who had them, Law knows just as much as the Straw Hats in regards to the steps to get to Raftel. They even told him how to steal a rubbing without taking the actual Poneglyph. But there's a key element that Law does not have in his possession, as far as we know, and Nekomamushi pointed it out. Anyone interested in the Void Century will be going after Nico Robin, because as far as we know, she's the only person that can read the Poneglyphs. It doesn't mean anything if you have these stones and cannot decipher them. So she's something Law does not have, or does he? Nico Robin then delivers a cryptic message stating that she does not mind who comes after her, she has powerful friends who can protect her, and blah blah blah. Hopefully that ends well for her. So we leave Zou and now we go to Wano, and for the most of Wano, well, we go to Whole Cake Island, but we're skipping Whole Cake Island because Law wasn't there. We go to Wano, and Law has been moving in the background, from multiple interactions with Hawkins to leaving the Alliance, to now turning up at a Poneglyph by himself. This caused some alarm due to the believers in the Law will betray Luffy theory. They finally had some ammo, and while at the Poneglyph, we see a conversation between Law and Robin, a flashback. It's a weird scenario because they seem to have established some trust, or one could say a bond. Law says she's the only person he would trust with that information, and I would imagine Law with his information dumps from time to time would leave a positive impression on Nico, and so she decided to share some information as well. But as telling Law this information means betraying Luffy, Law has no way to read these things and Nico would never leave the crew, unless she's forced or lured away. But I don't see that being Law, because Law is past that point. He's a ride or die for the Straw Hats. He would never hurt any of them. But what of his goals? How can he accomplish them without Nico? Well, I believe Law not only steals the rubbings of all the Poneglyphs that the Straw Hats have, he goes off to find his own way to interpret them, which could be hinted later in the arc. We received a hint about the Three-Eyed Tribe possibly knowing how to read them. Would that take away from Nico Robin's importance in the story? No, because she would still be very valuable to everyone else. She may even give Law a hint to make the voyage more interesting, knowing Law is a friend. Another detriment of Law's quest for Pirate King are his subordinates. I mean, they are not up to par at all, especially in comparison to Luffy or even Blackbeard. No one else that we know of on his crew has haki or any considerable strength from what we can tell. Maybe Beppo when he's in Sulong form, but we haven't even seen that. I mean, it's been an odd relationship, but what if Law asked Hawkins to join him? We've seen before that Law has no problem recruiting in the midst of disaster. How much would that bolster Law's crew? Well, I'll say this. Going up against a duo of Hawkins with his straw men and Law with his Opi no Mi would be devastating. Also, Hawkins from the beginning of Wano said he was searching for that man. Was Law the man he was supposed to follow all along? Were these interactions throughout Wano meant to set up at the end Hawkins joining Law on his voyage? Before we end, I had a quick theory in regards to Hawkins' powers. Is it possible that he could remove the effect of Straw Man and place it on someone else? Meaning, if he used his power on someone else, if they got hurt, it could affect another individual. Why is this significant? Well, for instance, say Hawkins can do that. He would be able to use it on Law, and Law could essentially use the ageless surgery on Hawkins while sacrificing another person's life in the process, with his right hand essentially turning into Hidan from Naruto. Yes, they would be broken, but against the Straw Hats and Blackbeard, how else do you compete? Full disclosure, I don't think this happens, but it's really fun to speculate using these two characters just because of how much versatility their devil fruit powers have. To conclude though, I believe Law takes the rubbings and goes off on his own to find his own way to interpret the Poneglyphs. Then he ends up allying with Luffy again to find out the history in the end. No matter what, Law will be a part of Luffy's faction to take down the world government. Their goals literally align. So essentially, Law's path to Pirate King will always be through Luffy. Why? Well, because Luffy will be the future Pirate King. There's no ifs, ands or laws about it. So as much as I like Law and I would like for him to succeed, that's Luffy's crown. He can tag along, but he will never be the one to become the Pirate King. It's just not in the cards for him. Do you think Law has a chance to become Pirate King? Do you think Law will betray Luffy? What do you think happens to Law in Wano? Give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram, BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.